So we have the chicken, it's ground chicken. You can buy it at the store or I make my own. And then they use chicken breast sometimes and it's so dry. So that's why I make my own and I use chicken thighs. What Liana just passed around is cabbage. It's Napa cabbage that I use. I put it in a food processor. You can chop it by hand if you want, but you can throw it in the food processor and then just grind it up. And it's very, very important that your filling is dry. So you have to squeeze the liquid out of your filling. So once it's chopped up, I just throw it in the microwave oven. And I heat it up depending on how much you have. 2, 3, 4 minutes depending on how much. And then once it wilts down, you just squeeze the water out of it. And I just use like a produce bag. Any mesh bag would do. And I just squeeze the water out. I use dry shiitake mushroom. You can use fresh shiitake mushroom. You can use any type of mushroom. But I find that dry shiitake mushroom has like a nicer aroma and flavor. You have to rehydrate it, just soak in water. Usually I soak it overnight. So when you do go buy shiitake mushroom, the thinner ones, it's faster to rehydrate. The thicker one, they just take a lot longer. For that, you probably have to soak it overnight. So that once it's rehydrated, you just chop it up small. Again, you can throw in the food processor. And then also too, before you put it in food processor, just squeeze the water out of it. You want everything chopped up small, like finely chopped. I think traditionally chives is used more widely than scallions, but not everybody's used to chives. And I feel like more people are used to scallions, so I use scallions instead. So the seasonings, it consists of minced garlic, minced ginger. So garlic and ginger you can also throw into the food processor and just mince it. Let's see, white pepper, salt, a little bit of sugar. Cornstarch is a binding agent, so that's why I use cornstarch. Sesame oil, Shaoxing wine, it's just a rice cooking wine. You can use any kind of wine, any kind of cooking wine. And you can use like chicken bouillon powder. I use the powder just because you don't want to use chicken broth because you want it to be dry. So you don't want to be adding broth into it. So for the ginger and the garlic, I saute it first. I just find that when you saute, it releases that aroma and flavor better. So I saute. Now it's important that you wait till it cools down and then you add it to your meat. Because you don't want to be adding hot to cold, especially chicken. So that's the filling for that. And then it's almost exactly the same as this, just without chicken. For the protein, I add tofu. And then you have the board here. This is where you're gonna roll out your dough. You have this little cup of water in front of you too. So that's for sealing the dough. So you only need that for the store-bought one. Oh, also you have here, like in this cup, this is dry flour. So this is what you're gonna need to put on your board later for when you're rolling out the dough because it gets kind of sticky. We set up actually 3 different stations. So this is one cooking station. This is for the boiling, this is for the steaming. So these are the two of the 3 methods that we're gonna go over today. And then the other station, it has another boiling, and then it has 2 pan fries. So pan fry is the 3rd method that we're gonna learn today too. So I'm gonna demonstrate how to fold. Like I'm just gonna show some basic fold technique. The store-bought dough, I feel that depending on the batch, it can sometimes be challenging because sometimes you get it and you get what you get, you know. Sometimes you get it and it's kind of dry. So when it's dry, it's hard to work with because they break, they crack, they won't seal. So I find that if I wet this first, it sticks better. That's when I'm putting in the filling. And if you watch some videos, they might tell you just wet half, and I find that it doesn't stick very well. So when you're putting in the filling, you don't want to put in too much, but you don't want to put in too little because you put in too little, when you bite into it, it's nothing. But then when you put in too much, it's harder to wrap it. So I put about like a tablespoon. If you don't feel like being creative, you just fold it in half like this. Just fold it in half. If you like pan fry, because pan fry is what gets the crust on the bottom. So when you do it like this, you can't really pan fry the bottom. I suppose you could fry this side, but it's not as pretty. So this is good for boiling, like you just boil it. So to do the pleats, so you want your meat like that, and then you just fold it in half again. So I'm gonna make pleats from both directions, okay? So you just go in from each side. So you just take this and you push it in like that with your finger, with your index finger. And then this side you do the same thing. You just take this and you push it in. And then also too, sometimes it's easier to fold from the back. I just did it from the front so you guys can see. But for me, it's easy for me if I fold it in the back. So this is 4 pleats. You just do the 2 in the middle, like from each side you go in. When you do like this, it's a crescent shape. So then it has the flat bottom. So when it has a flat bottom, you can pan fry and then you're gonna get the crispy bottom. So you can just play with this and make whatever pleats you want, however many pleats you want. You can also go like in one direction instead of going in from the 2 sides. So it's the same thing. You just start at the end and take your thumb and just push it in like that. So you're gonna use your index finger on the other side, and then you go like that so that it puffs out. And then you just push it in with your thumb. And then you just keep going all the way around. So as for the pan frying, I would suggest using a non-stick frying pan. You just heat up your pan a little bit and then you add some oil, just vegetable oil, just fine. And then you just let it cook. When it turns kind of golden on the bottom, that's when you want to add water. Add water so it covers it a little bit. And then you cover up the pot, the frying pan. So as you cover it up, it's steaming. It's like a combination of frying and steaming at the same time. So for this dough, everybody should have like a scraper or dough cutter at your station. What we're gonna do now is roll it into a log. So you want to make sure you flour your board.
Now you don't need water. You just can fry it without water. You don't need but make sure 165.
So once you cut it or to whatever size you want to roll it into a log. I find that if I'm rolling and pulling at the same time, it's easier. I usually use a silicone mat, so it's not as slippery as this. And then you just use your dough cutter and then cut them. It depends on how big you want to make it. Like the bigger you cut it, the bigger it'll be. So then once you have the piece you want, just put it down. This is the part where I cut. This is the side where I cut. So you want to put that side down and then press it with the palm of your hand. And then the rolling, I don't know if you guys can see me over there. So you want your thumb in the middle. This is a little bit small, but you want to put your thumb right in the middle. And then when you're rolling it, you want to use like this part of your hand. Now you want the edges to be very thin, but you want the middle to be thick, because that's where all the filling sits. So if it's too thin, it's just gonna break. Okay, so you want to roll it and then just turn it. Roll and turn. Roll and turn. So just roll up to your thumb and then turn it and then roll it again. So you guys can feel free to come up and watch me if you want. You have to like roll it in and then pull it out. So you got something like this. You can't really see it, but it's a little bit thicker in the middle than around the edges. The edges are quite thin. When you're making the pleats, you'll find that it's a lot easier to fold. It's a lot more pliable, it's softer, and they stick better. One key thing to remember is not to put too much dry flour on your board, because if there's too much dry flour, now it won't stick.
Do you still use
So-
water?
No, you don't need to. See, like it just sticks. So, and then with this, you could simply like just take your fingers and just pinch it like this. And see how it sticks? Like it's very sticky. It's not like the homemade, not like the store-bought dough. And you get a dumpling. Now, just keep in mind that there's so many different types of dumplings out there, and there's so many different ingredients that you can use. This is just my version of dumpling. So, you know, if somebody else tells you something different, then it's not necessary that somebody's wrong. It's just everybody have a different preference, and this is the way I like to make it. So I'm showing you guys. But even my husband, like, he doesn't like my preference, so that's why he's not out here. He's in there.